Blaze and Thunderbolt, written and illustrated by C.W. Anderson. Billy was a little boy who had a pony named Blaze that he loved very much. One summer, when his father and mother decided to spend a vacation on a ranch in the West, they bought a trailer so that Blaze could go along too. Perhaps Blaze did not like the trip as much, but he was a good traveler and gave no trouble. He was always happy when he could be with Billy. Billy had read many cowboy stories and he was excited to see the West. He was even more excited when he saw his first cowboy. The cowboy was riding a big gray horse and he seemed very friendly. He told them that the ranch they were going to was only a few miles further on. Billy liked the cowboy at once and hoped he would see him again. When he got to the ranch, Billy led Blaze to a big corral. Blaze was so happy when he found that he was going to have such a nice big pasture to play in. It had been a long ride in the little trailer and it felt good to stretch his legs. He knew he was going to like the West. Bright and early the next morning, Billy put the western saddle and bridle his father had bought for him and Blaze on Blaze. He wore his big cowboy hat and his new cowboy boots. He felt like a real cowboy as he started out for a long ride with Blaze. There was so much to see in this wide open country. Blaze seemed to want to explore it too, for he galloped along gaily toward the blue hills far away. After riding several miles, he came to a big herd of cattle. There was a cowboy nearby. It was the cowboy they had met yesterday. He was very nice and friendly, and he told Billy many interesting things about the West. His name was Jim. Billy was anxious to explore the hills, so Jim rode along with him. Early the next morning, Billy started for the hills. Jim had invited Billy to have lunch with him so he could spend the whole day exploring. He had told his father and mother all about Thunderbolt. He hoped to see the wild horse again. "We're going to look for Thunderbolt," he said to Blaze. "I'd like to see him close, wouldn't you?" Blaze seemed to understand, for he galloped faster. After riding many miles, Billy and Blaze came to the foot of the hills where Jim and the cattle were. While they were eating, Billy told Jim that he would like to ride up in the hills. Billy and Blaze had climbed many of the smaller hills and were coming through some bushes when Blaze suddenly stopped. There, just ahead on a flat edge, was Thunderbolt. He looked so wild and proud and beautiful. Billy had never seen anything so beautiful. Thunderbolt did not see them until Blaze whinnied. Then he turned and snorted. He looked at Billy and Blaze for a moment before he turned and galloped away. He did not seem to be frightened. He seemed to know that this boy and his pony did not mean to do him any harm. After that, Billy rode over to the hills almost every day. Sometimes he ate with Jim, but often he brought his own lunch. And he ate in the shade while Blaze ate grass. He should take off the saddle and bridle and let Blaze go where he liked sometimes. He knew the pony would always come when he called. Each day he left some carrots and sugar on a flat rock where he had seen Thunderbolt. They were always gone the next day, so he felt sure Thunderbolt had probably been there and eaten them. One day he fell asleep after lunch. He woke up suddenly. There on the flat rock were Blaze and Thunderbolt, side by side, eating the carrots and sugar. When they had finished everything, they walked off together. When Billy called Blaze a little later, he came at once, but there was no sign of Thunderbolt. Billy met Jim on his way home and told him what had happened. "Thunderbolt must be lonesome," he said. "He never sees any other horses except those who chase him. Your pony is friendly and he likes him. Be very quiet. Don't try to go near him. You may get to know him, and he may get to know you too." After a while, Billy called Blaze so they could start for home. Thunderbolt watched while he was saddling Blaze. Billy dreamed about Thunderbolt that night and for many nights afterwards. Once he even dreamed he was riding the beautiful black horse. The next day he started out earlier than ever because he felt something exciting was going to happen. The nearer they came to the hills, the faster that Blaze went. Billy knew that Blaze was eager to see his new friend again. When they reached the rock, there stood Thunderbolt. This time he didn't run away, but he stood still and whinnied to Blaze. Billy's unsaddled Blaze as quickly as he could and turned him loose. He trotted over to Thunderbolt, and Billy could see how glad they were to see each other. After a while, Billy called Blaze so he could start for home. Thunderbolt watched while he was saddling Blaze, then began to follow them. Billy was very excited, for he thought Thunderbolt might never follow them all the way home. Then maybe he'd like to have some good food and he'd come with them. He would enjoy Blaze's company so much that maybe he would stay. But just then Thunderbolt saw some cowboys in the distance, and he turned and galloped back into the hills. Oh, Billy and Blaze were disappointed. Blaze walked slower than usual because he did not want to leave his friend. When Billy came to the corral to feed Blaze early the next morning, he thought he must be dreaming. There was Thunderbolt with Blaze. He had come down during the night and jumped into the corral to be with his friend Blaze. Billy was very excited and happy. If I can only make him want to stay, he will be mine, he said to himself as he hurried to get another bucket of oats for Thunderbolt. Billy quietly put 2 pails of feed in the corral. Soon, Blaze and Thunderbolt were having breakfast together. At first, Thunderbolt was nervous, but when he tasted the oats, he forgot about being frightened. He had never tasted anything so good before. Billy's father and mother were almost as excited as he was. They thought Thunderbolt was the most beautiful horse they had ever seen. His father told Billy to be very quiet and gentle around Thunderbolt, and the horse would soon get to know him and trust him. Often Billy could climb on Blaze's back and ride around the corral. Thunderbolt always followed beside them. Billy hoped that someday he could ride the beautiful black horse, and he wanted to understand that he wouldn't hurt him. Billy felt sure that no one could ever ride Thunderbolt unless the horse wanted him to. One day Jim came over, and when he saw how quiet Thunderbolt was, he said he would try to ride him for Billy. But when Thunderbolt saw Jim coming towards him with the lasso, he began to rear up and buck. "He thinks you're one of the cowboys that chased him," cried Billy. "Let me try him. He knows me more and isn't as afraid now." Billy called Blaze to come over and stand beside Thunderbolt. Then he patted the black horse and talked softly to him until he was quiet. He knew Billy and Blaze were friends. Thunderbolt trembled a little and snorted, but he did not buck or kick. Soon they were walking quietly around the corral. Jim was very surprised and pleased and told Billy that he was going to be a fine horseman someday. Billy rode Thunderbolt around the corral for many days before he put a saddle and bridle on him. He's just riding bareback. Do you see that? It's hard because you have to hang on to their hair and you have no stirrups to put your feet in. Soon Thunderbolt knew that it was safe and what he was supposed to do, as well as Blaze, and Billy was very proud of him. Blaze and Thunderbolt became such good friends that they always had to be together. If Billy went for a ride on Blaze, then Thunderbolt always came along. If he rode Thunderbolt, Blaze always galloped happily beside him. Jim was very proud of the way Billy had trained Thunderbolt and told him that he now had one of the finest horses and finest pony in this part of the country. Billy was very proud and happy, for he felt sure that it was true. That concludes our story of Blaze and Thunderbolt. That was a wonderful story, but I do want you to remember that not everyone can afford to have a horse. Horses cost a lot of money, a lot of work. You need a barn, a stable, you need a large pasture so they can graze. The hay and the grain costs a lot of money. So right now I can't have a horse. When I was young, my father did buy me a horse for a year or two. His name was Thunder. This one's name was Thunderbolt. I also had a thoroughbred with a white blaze and 3 white socks on his feet. So when we can't have a horse of our own, we can always ride a carousel. Do you know what a carousel is? It's the little horses that go around and up and down. I still enjoy riding carousels with my grandsons. You don't have to feed them, you don't need a barn, but you can still enjoy them. We want to be content and enjoy what God gives us.